The hum of the airlock rattled my bones, each pulsating thrum echoing like a death knell in the cavernous corridor of the shackle. A converted cargo ship stuffed to the brim with desperate souls and makeshift weaponry. I could feel the heat of my panic coiling in my gut like a tightly wound spring ready to snap. All around me, the tension was palpable. It filled the air like the acrid smell of burnt polymer wafting from the volatile reactor. A reminder that we were either about to initiate the most audacious heist in human history, or explode into cosmic debris beneath the ironclad gaze of our galactic overlords. I clenched my jaw, willed my thoughts to settle. Stay focused, I muttered under my breath, although the tremor in my voice betrayed me. The mission hinged on perfect execution. The tiniest misstep would get us vaporized before we even had a chance to savor our victory. Our leaders had promised us we would finally offend the overlords enough that they might think twice before enslaving us all. It was either this, or fade further into the night, dogged by the constant dehumanization that had become routine since their invasion. A glimpse of red barely caught my attention as I turned to my left. Tara, the ship's pilot, shot me a scathing glare that wrapped around the anger she felt toward my recent decisions. I had not told her about the radiation leaks in the reactor. Instead, I had ordered a hasty patch from Pitt, our engineer, while keeping Tara updated only on the operational aspects. I could see her frustration brushing against my own guilt, two volatile emotions colliding in the silence that stretched between us, gnawing at our already fragile alliance. "Do you ever stop being an idiot?" she hissed, the sharpness of her voice slicing through the tension. "What's done is done, Tara," I said, fixing my gaze elsewhere onto the dull metallic walls that seemed to close in on me. "We have a plan. We stick to it. And not if we blow ourselves up first," she shot back, her fists clenching at her sides. I could tell she wanted to lay into me more, to unleash a tirade that would echo through the ship, yet the stakes demanded restraint. We might still reach the hidden encampment on the planet Zoriv, where sparks of rebellion glimmered, if we survived long enough. The airlock doors slid open with a hiss, revealing the vast expanse of the void before us, a kaleidoscope of stars shimmering across the expansive abyss, a reality that felt more surreal than comforting. Somewhere in the distance lay Zoriv, our destination, but the danger was far from absent. Indeed, the coalition of galactic overlords was patrolling like a pack of wolves, searching for signs of rebellion, treating human ingenuity like a pest to be crushed. With each step across the airlock, I was acutely aware of the clank of my boots against the hard metal floor, the sound unmistakably drawing the gaze of our comrades. My heart raced, not only at the thrill of the imminent upheaval, but at the harsh clarity of our reality. We were insurgents against omnipotent beings, and so far, it had felt like wielding a plastic knife against a titan's armor. But today we had a shot. A reminder pinged in my ear, a calm voice cutting through the chaos. 1 minute to detonation. My heart leaped into my throat, and the impending recklessness suffused my thoughts. I had to make a decision, and I had to make it fast. My gaze darted between Tara and Anderson, who cradled a sputtering thermal pulse rifle in his hands. It flickered like a warning sign, much like the remnants of my conscience. Should I tell them about the reactor? There was no time left for regrets, no time slip through the cracks of uncertainty. "We execute now," I shouted, my voice rising above their concerns. "Our window is closing." Clenching my fists, I took another deep breath and forced my heart back into a steady rhythm. For a heartbeat, the world around me seemed to slow. The chaos muted as I cast a glance back toward Tara, whose eyes sparked not just with anger but with something else. Fear, perhaps. She had every right. In the vacuum of space, courage seemed an ill-fitting coat for cowardice. But amidst my brazen bravado, dipping down into the well of our shared purpose, I saw a flicker of hope. In that moment of pure desperation, it became clear that we stood as something more than mere insurgents. We embodied the undying spirit of humanity, the truth that we deserved our freedom. As the countdown collapsed against the mounting pressure, I knew that executing this daring plan could redefine how we faced the impending apocalypse wrought by the galactic overlords. If we survived, maybe, just maybe today would mark the dawn of a new era. In unison, we activated our gear, powered up our weapons, and stepped into the light of the unknown, ready to outsmart those who wielded the universe like a cruel puppet. The thrill of rebellion coursed through my veins as we crossed the threshold. With a glance at the fraying alliance in our midst, I reminded myself, life was about making choices that mattered, and today we would choose to fight. The brightness of the Zorov surface was almost blinding as we burst through the atmospheric layer, the ship rattling like an angry hornet. My bones reverberated with the force of the descent, raw energy suffusing the cold metal deck as Tara's hands gripped the controls with a white, knuckle intensity. Each gasp of breath felt more urgent. A rush of adrenaline surged through me. 5 seconds to landing, Tara shouted over the din of alarms and rumbling engines. My heart pounded in sync with the frantic beeping resonating through the cockpit. "Hold steady," I yelled back, grounding myself against the nearest console. "We can do this." With each count, the ship hurtled closer to the chaotic landscape. A barren field of ochre and silver. Gray dust interspersed with jagged rock formations fringed in an iridescent hue. As we landed, metal scraped against stone, and the ship lurched violently. I heard Anderson shout out an oath as he slammed into the wall beside him, and I winced at the sound. Tara fought valiantly with the controls until finally, the thud of impact subsided into an eerie silence. "Shields are down," she panted, exhaling sharply as she scanned instruments for warnings. "We've breached atmosphere. Congrats, we made it." Our victory felt hollow against the backdrop of our last colossal gamble. I felt the weight of our promise pushing down on my chest. This was merely the beginning. Steeling myself, I turned to my comrades as they collected themselves. "All right, let's regroup and make for the rendezvous point," I instructed, the stalwart tone meant to convince them it would be simple. Pitt should be waiting for us. Tara shot me a sidelong glance. "Well, you're sure he didn't get picked up by the Overlords before we arrived? Why wouldn't he be on the ship?" "Because he told me he would reach the meeting point first," I countered sharply, trying to keep irritation at bay. "Pitt's not the type to turn coward. He knows what's at stake." Anderson stood, brushing himself off. "Let's just hope he's right. The Overlords have been hunting insurgents harder since the last raid. Even if we made it through, it won't be long before they realize we're on this world." "The beauty of Zorov is that it's unnervingly remote," I replied, pushing up the hatch, and the acrid scent of dust hung thick in the air, spiced with something metallic. "Our base camp can fade into shadows, and we'll have the rebellion on our side for a counterstrike." Stepping outside, I felt the heat of the planet beat against my skin, the sun's rays more intense than I anticipated. A plume of dust kicked up beneath our feet like it was alive, swirling in arcs that reminded me of the chaos we had escaped. Striding ahead, I borrowed confidence from my stance, though shadows of doubt lingered in the corners of my mind. As we began our trek, the distant silhouette of the rock formations drew closer, a sight both familiar and alien. These were the caves where rebellion had taken form, where defiance had molded a new way of living amidst oppression. "A close ranks," I shouted, and we settled into a formation, me in front, Tara to my left, Anderson flanking my right. The arid wind whipped around us, stealing my breath as we navigated the uneven rocky ground. A few minutes passed in conspicuous silence, the sounds of our footsteps muffled by the profound stillness of the atmosphere. All around us, rugged life persisted. The flora here resisted the arrogance of destruction, pushing through stone cracks with a perseverance that mirrored our own struggles. Then a low rumble echoed from a distance, shuddering through the ground. The vibrations crawled up my legs, stealing my resolve. My instinct screamed danger. "Move, move," I urged, racing ahead into the folds of stone that beckoned like gaping maws. "Tara, lead the way. Anderson, stay close." Scuttling along the jagged formations, I felt a growing urgency to find our ally Pitt, who may already be at the heart of the action. "Oh wait, go," Tara directed, glancing back over her shoulder as we dove into a narrow crevice just before a series of low, buzzing drones emerged from the rocky outcrop. Dark, serrated shapes flitted above, their digital eyes scanning for signs of movement. "They've sent scouts," Anderson gasped, clenching his pulse rifle, his knuckles pale. "No, we hadn't accounted for this. They must have tracked our landing." I gritted my teeth. "We need to hold our position until they pass." As we huddled together, Tara's face radiated wariness, that uncertainty gnawing at her edges. What if Pitt was caught? I glanced at her, trying to share reassurance, though dread churned in my belly. "If he is, we have to make sure we don't get caught too. He'll figure out a way to hold out." But doubt gnawed relentlessly. What if our plans crumbled under the weight of an ever-watchful universe? I sank into the shadows with my allies, and together we strained to listen, the faint whir of drones slicing through the air above us. A sudden spiraling sound broke the silence, a crackling burst, a movement. I hissed. Within heartbeats the ground shook. The looming nomadic creatures, giant beasts cloaked in fur, towering high against the skyline, burst from the brush nearby. They were magnificent and terrifying, voices bellowing in a language unknown but eerily communicating the urgency of survival. Somewhere, deep within the mind of the Zorov landscape, I sensed a compatible alliance blooming, one that may yet foster hope in our insurgency. "We have to get out of here," I urged, "if we don't reposition now," but it was too late. As a group of the drones circled back toward us, warbling signals alerted the creatures around. The ground beneath us trembled, pulsating with life. A constellation of new fear and determination ignited. I turned to my comrades, the anxiety visible on our faces. "All right," on my lead, we charged toward the caves. With a firm nod, we stepped into the fray, feet pounding against the surface, a dance with destiny, armed with nothing more than fervent wills and the desperate longing for redemption. When we got out of sight, behind the rock formations, our world would shift. Perhaps, even in the heart of chaos, our fight against the Overlords might birth the world we yearned for all this time. And beyond it, all lingered whispers of an ancient prophecy turned reality. That may redefine the fate of humankind. As we sprinted past towering stegopods weaving amidst the dust, Tara's voice punctuated the chaos. "What do you think it means, the prophecy?" "I don't know," I admitted, glancing back toward her. "But today we'll find out." And with that, we dashed forward into the deeper embrace of Zorov, ready to confront not just the Overlords, but whatever awaited us ahead, knowing that our fight wasn't solely for survival. It had become a quest for the very essence of what it meant to be human. Caves yawned open before us, a dark mouth that seemed to consume the frenetic hum of life outside. Shadows flickered like whispers of forgotten memories along the jagged walls, and as we stepped in, a cool breath of air washed over my face, tinged with the earthy scent of minerals and centuries of solitude. My heart pounded in my chest, a chaotic rhythm driving our collective urgency forward. We had to regroup with Pitt. We'd lost precious time amidst the din of survival against the Overlords and their ravenous drones. Inside, the corridor widened as we descended into the rocky underbelly of Zorov, the walls slick with moisture that mirrored the tension shimmering between us. Tara led the way, her instincts sharper than ever, navigating the twists and turns with the grace of someone who had, against all odds, found some semblance of home beneath the surface. I followed closely, trying to read the contours of the path ahead, aware that the deeper we moved, the more isolated we became from the safety of the surface and our shared hopes for the future. We ventured through the tunnels, their ceilings high and echoing with murmurs that could easily drown out one's thoughts. The experience felt both suffocating and liberating, akin to floating through space, yet also weighed down by our purpose. "The pit should be just ahead," Tara assured, glancing back over her shoulder. And though her voice conveyed confidence, I couldn't help but feel the gnawing worry that yanked at the seams of my composure. If the Overlords were indeed patrolling, we were running out of time. Suddenly, the air thickened with an electric charge, coalescing unsettlingly. "Stop," I hissed, raising a hand to halt our forward momentum. The hairs on my neck stood upright, tingling, as a profound sense of danger encircled us. Unbeknownst to me, the dread loomed beyond our immediate perceivable reality. Look," Anderson murmured, eyes widening, and then he pointed toward the far wall. A series of ancient markings etched into the stone's surface, symbols that shone with a faint golden hue, glowing like whispers from a long, dead tribe. "Those must be remnants of the Proxima, the ancient inhabitants of Zoriv. They say their wisdom still lingers beneath the surface. Regardless of the distraction, a sense of urgency pulsed through me. We don't have time to decipher ancient scripts, Anderson," I urged, my voice laced with anxious determination. But even as the words left my lips, I felt a pull toward the markings, the way history intertwined with the present. What if they hold the key to turning the tides against the Overlords? Tara turned to find my gaze lost in the patterns. "Don't get too distracted. We need to find Pitt. We can consider the past once we stabilize our present." Nodding, I tore my focus from the ethereal wall. Tara was right. While the scars of history held value, we were at the precipice of potential disaster, where every heartbeat lowered our chances of success. Leading the way again, we pressed on through narrow passageways, our senses heightened, each creak of sound amplifying the straining tension. Every flicker of movement seemed to confirm our worst fears. Then we heard it, the tremor of footsteps heavier than our own, reverberating through the stone. "Drones," I breathed, glancing back at Tara and Anderson, both finding fear and resolve reflected in my eyes. We had little time left. Crouching into a huddle, I pressed my voice low. "We can't stay here. We need to find the exit before they patrol the area. If they see us," but just as I finished, the shadows deepened, flickering against the cave walls as the drone's patrolling lights sliced through the darkness. Panic surged like fire in my veins. "This way," I commanded, socking a fist into the rock to propel myself forward as I navigated a sharp right turn into an adjacent passage. The sudden shift was to our advantage. The drones couldn't turn as swiftly along the confines of the cave. We dotted through, the air thickening with worry as the sounds of the drones echoed around us, their mechanical whirs splicing into the chaotic rhythm of our beating hearts. "What now?" Anderson gasped, breathless from running, glancing back behind us. Further in, Tara urged, eyes darting as colors flickered from outside the approaching drones, surely growing agitated. "Caves like these might have entry points deeper into the mountains. They're designed to confuse and mislead. But we didn't just need to run. We needed a plan. We needed Pitt, the heart and backbone of our mission, our trusted engineer who could bridge our ambitions with the technology we may not fully understand." As we continued deeper, I caught sight of a soft glow emanating from up ahead. We paused, sharing glances filled with uncertainty yet rife with the electricity of purpose. There, nestled behind a cluster of stones, lay what appeared to be a makeshift encampment. Tension surged through my body. In the heart of chaos, we had found sanctuary. "Pitt," I called out, rushing toward the flickering light. He emerged cautiously, a look of profound relief sweeping over him. A man who had been balancing between shadows and hope in a world where both collided. "You made it," he exclaimed, his eyes darting between us. "I thought I was the only one who escaped." "Not quite," I shot back, the moment of relief battling against the reality looming dangerously close. "But we still have to move. Drones are tracking us, and we can't let them corner us here." Pitt nodded, and as he rummaged through the supplies scattered around, he held out a pulse rifle to Anderson, who accepted it with a look of gratitude. "I've set up a field comms array nearby. We can contact the others and inform them we've reached Zoriv. But we can't waste time." The urgency snapped back like a taut string about to snap. I turned to the tunnel entrance, hearing the buzzing grow louder, the vibrations creeping closer like a shadow promising disaster. "We're not out yet. Here's how we'll play it." The air thickened with the weight of our desperation. The four of us hunched together, sharing glances brimming with purpose and an unspoken understanding of risk. We might very well be lost in conflict, but we had forged bonds beneath the crushing weight of oppression, a network interwoven in our shared hopes for liberation. Outside, chaos reigned as the metallic whir of drones broke through the silence. They swept past the entrance of the cave, their bright lights penetrating the darkness, surveying the boundaries of Zorov with uncompromising insistence. Now, I whispered urgently, gesturing for Anderson and Tara to flank each side. The unmistakable hum of technology swelled around us, drowning out the faintest vibrations as Pitt and I steadied ourselves in the center. Underneath the weight of heightened fear coiled with determination, I couldn't help but remember the symbols etched in the cave. Tales of a people who survived, who found wisdom in desolation, and perhaps, just perhaps, there lay something in us that mirrored that legacy. As the drones scanned the area, their light probing into shadows, I took a deep breath, ready to forge our own path and uphold our legacy. This is our moment. For every lost soul, for those we fight alongside, we will make our stand, I declared, resolute. And so we braced for the onslaught, determined not just to survive, but to rise against a tide that was meant to drown us. Duty whispered in every heartbeat, courage lighting a pathway toward hope, a chance to change the narrative and shape our world anew, no longer merely pawns in a cosmic game, but fierce insurgents with a purpose forged in conflict. I would find a way to wield it, and together we'd encompass the heart of humanity, our struggle united under the embers of defiance, where we would step boldly into the fray, etched into the annals of history as we redefined our fate. And in the deepening shadows, I could almost hear them, the voices of the Proxima, echoing the thread of defiance in their age-old stories, ready to bestow their knowledge upon those who dared to listen and act. As the cacophony of drones intensified, I felt the air thicken around us, a mix of dread and resolve swirling like a tempest. The shadows danced along the cave walls, and I could sense it. The inevitability of confrontation was looming like a meteor poised to strike. I steadied myself, reminding my comrades that, together, we possessed an arsenal beyond mere weaponry. Stand firm, I urged, rallying my team. Ready yourselves. The glow of the drones grew brighter as they approached, their unsettling whirring invading the oppressive silence of our hiding place. I exchanged a glance with Pitt, who was rigging a makeshift pulse beacon, frantically adjusting wires in hope of sending a distress signal to any nearby rebels. Tara and Anderson positioned themselves, pulse rifles primed, the tension humming in their postures. Each heartbeat echoed the urgency that coursed through the cave, an invisible rhythm uniting us. 3, 2, 1, go, I commanded, and the world ripped apart in an explosion of sound and light, breaking through our encapsulated fears like a storm. As I lunged forward to lead us out, I felt the energy flare around us. The drones, alerted to our presence, honed their searching beams, riding the air on wings of technology ever, watchful ever, merciless. Now, Pitt, I yelled, and he activated the beacon just as I focused on the approaching swarm. The pulse burst out like a beacon, creating ripples in the dense atmosphere, a cry for reinforcements, a plea to the fight against the Overlords. A flurry of chaotic energy crackled through the cave, sending the drones reeling, their mechanical bodies jerking from their programmed paths as they sought to recalibrate. Never mind the drones, I shouted. We need to reach the exit. Together, we surged into action. Anderson and Tara flanked me, their rifles aimed, providing cover as we sprinted toward a gnarled passageway that seemed to stretch into the very depths of the planet. The ground beneath us shook with the intensity of the drone's thrumming engines and the echo of vibrant turmoil, a reminder of the life and rebellion teeming just beyond the walls of our current reality. The shadows swirled around us. I sensed a shift. The ethereal glow of the markings I had glimpsed earlier beckoned me, whispering secrets beneath the jagged surface. But I had no time to wonder. The urgency of the moment demanded clarity, demanded action. With every heartbeat, the drones closed in. Their thin red lasers danced like fiery dewdrops, illuminating the path ahead and igniting dormant fears. I kept my stride steady, the resolve dimming but never extinguishing, knowing that we would find our way through the storm together. Utara, where to? I called, scanning our options as we entered the widening space just beyond the tunnel, the carvings shimmering a faint golden hue. An invitation or an omen, through there. She pointed toward a narrow fissure at the end of the chamber, a jagged entry that loomed with uncertainty yet held promise. Go, I shouted, driving the group forward. As we darted into the fissure, I could feel the vibrations intensify around us, drones buzzing and piercing through stone, and walls echoing with the fear-filled cries of those who had come before us, their spirits entwined with our plight. Pitt kept feeding the beacon message, adjusting frequencies in frantic bursts as the energy surged around us, and I could feel the echoes of urgency shining through our connection. I believed that surely the network of rebels beyond Zorov would respond. The fissure curled deeper into the earth, twisting into a narrow passage until it finally opened into a cavern, illuminated by shafts of light streaming from above. A caustic brilliance that stung our eyes and showed the jagged beauty of the underground world. Life thrived even here. Twisting vines choked the walls. Bioluminescent fungi pulsed gently, illuminating the way forward amidst tightly woven structures built by the ancient Proxima people. This leads straight to the Oracle's chamber, Pitt informed, shoving half, standing vines aside to reveal a gaping doorway. The Proxima spoke of visions that emerged when they sought guidance in the darkest moments. Hope flared in me, mingling with urgency and fear. Could it help us? I asked, instinctively glancing back as the vibrations of the drones rattled the cave, each tremor a reminder of their relentless pursuit. It could, Pitt replied, but it also holds dangers. Channeling the Oracle's energy can create backlash if we're not prepared. It may overwhelm us. All around us, the walls pulsed with potential. Powers, once thought long stripped from humanity, whispered within the depths of the Proxima relics. We have no choice, I said loudly, the chaos brewing around us spurring me forward. We're out of options. We need the Oracle's guidance. If there's any chance to harness its strength against the Overlords, stepping into the chamber felt like crossing a threshold into a different realm. The air shimmered, warped by unseen forces, the kind of magic that pulses through the universe and glows in the depths of despair. We moved deeper inside, navigating through the sacred space of shimmering crystals and runic carvings embedded in the rock. Center stage stood a stone pedestal coated in intricacies, marked with lines that seemed to shift and breathe. Above it, the atmosphere crackled. A vast collection of energy collected, coalescing around us, charged and electric. Stand close, I instructed, feeling the pull of energy course around us like an invisible tide beckoning us closer, inviting us to decipher our destinies. Pitt, adjust the beacon frequencies. We need support. Tara called out, her voice steady in the face of uncertainty as I lifted my hand to summon the energy flowing through the space. Do it now, I shouted again, feeling the vibrations spiral into existence. A harmony emerging beneath the storm. Pitt moved quickly, hands tightening over the device as his brow furrowed in concentration. The chamber brimmed with energy. The air was thick, a radiant pulse heightening, while the stone beneath our feet began to tremble, resonating the force of our growing presence. Send the signal, I urged, then closed my eyes, reaching for the fleeting strands of potential wrapped in the golden markings. What if the ancient words of the Proxima held the key to our survival? With a focus I hadn't known I possessed, I spread my palms wide, sensing the energy swell around me, steady and strong. In that moment, the chamber responded, resonating with the shared heartbeat of my comrades as we channeled our hopes and fears into the ancient stone. Remember our promise, I declared, echoing the words of solidarity as they rippled through the air. The walls around us echoed back, magnificent energy converging, overflowing towards the light. And then it struck. A brilliance erupted outward, an overwhelming force that surged through the chamber, an explosion of sight and sound wrapping around us. Visions flickered across the darkness. I saw their history, The Proxima, their rise and fall, their struggle against blackened skies and the shadows of injustice. Flashes of humanity danced before me, tangled breaths of life and suffering, each pulse unearthing stories untold. The ancient wisdom breathed within the light. There were 4 fates, 4 paths, and each held a lesson. I gasped as images cascaded upon me, a battle won but lost, families torn apart yet always reuniting, deception breathing within friendships, and ardent passions igniting rebellion. Together, I heard a whisper, powerful and sacred, filled with echoes from long ago. Only united can you pierce through the grasp of tyranny. In that split second of vision, truth took shape. The soul of our resistance lay not only in the weapons we bore, but in the connections we forged and the choices we made. Suddenly, the light dimmed, swirling back into shadows, and the echoes faded, leaving us with an intense silence saturated with possibility. Now, I shook from the visions, seizing the air around us. Now we move, we march forward armed with purpose, stronger than ever. The Overlords won't silence us. We rise. Just beyond, the drones whirred and buzzed, relentless in their pursuit, as I steeled myself for the imminent fight. Our vision lay etched within our minds, entwined with the legacy of the Proxima. With gripping certainty, we stepped into the chaos, ready to own our destinies, to defy the cosmos, wielding not just our firepower, but the indomitable spirit imbued within us. As we prepared to confront our enemy, the truth reverberated through our cores. No matter the outcome, it was the bonds we formed and the stand we took that defined us, even in the face of darkness. Together, we plunged into the storm of light and shadow. Each step echoed our purpose, a fierce rebellion against the fear the Overlords had planted in our hearts. And within that fight, the embers of the Proxima ignited the flames of a burning reality. Our fight would resonate through the universe, reclaiming humanity's spirit and legacy from the void. The ground shook beneath us, reverberating with the fury of an impending confrontation as we stepped deeper into the chaos, the pulse of purpose thrumming through our veins. I felt a fierce urgency steer me forward as I readied my weapon, adrenaline coursing like molten lava. The walls of the cave constricted, wrapping around us like an oppressive grasp. The drones, relentless shadows acting under the Overlord's watchful gaze, flitted about, their lights dancing mockingly, only amplifying my resolve. "Take cover!" I barked as we launched ourselves toward the nearest outcropping, ducking low and keeping our breath steady. The pulse of the beacon pit had activated, continued to hum quietly against the cavern, its luminous glow barely cutting through the din. I trusted that it had reached our allies, that it would draw strength from across vast distances, but hope felt tenuous in the face of incoming darkness. I glanced over my shoulder to ensure Tara and Anderson were aligned. Tara's expression was focused, her rifle ready, sweeping the area as though each flick of her gaze could heighten our chances of survival. Anderson, though his face betrayed his fear, wore the mantle of determination like a hardened warrior. I could feel our shared resolve binding our fates together. There, Tara pointed, nodding toward a narrow passage that branched off to the left. If we squeeze through there, we should circumvent them. The thrumming external noise was appallingly close now, blurring our surroundings with the sound of urgency and mechanical whirs. We were running short on time, on hope, on everything that had brought us here, but a flicker of belief ignited within me. We could do this. We follow your lead, I affirmed, hoping to instill enough confidence to bolster us against the tidal wave of fear crashing over us. Tara dove into the fissure first, her movements a seamless blur. I followed close, my heart pounding in rhythm with the internal monologue of doubt trying to whisper in my ear. What if this is it? What if it ends here? But I shook my head, dispelling the thoughts like morning fog. We had come too far to falter now. As we navigated the tight space, the air grew cooler, the hard stone biting against my skin, but I could feel the energy swirling around us, a latent force intertwining our spirits. Anderson stumbled momentarily, but I caught his arm before he could falter, pulling him forward. Together, we pressed onward, a united front against the fear threatening to engulf us. Emerging into the next chamber sent gasps through our group. A massive vault carved intricately by deep-rooted artistry. The walls were adorned with glowing symbols that flickered with life, resonating with the same energy we had witnessed before. It felt as if the room breathed with us, an ancient testament waiting to be awakened. Wait, Pitt called just as I was about to advance. We need to examine the structure. This could be their command center. With a nod, I held back, prioritizing caution over haste. As we huddled in the alcove, the bright lights cast fractured patterns across the rock, echoes of ancient wisdom and rebellion written in the countless symbols. Each pulse of light felt like a heartbeat leading us down a path we had yet to traverse. "We can't just stand here," Anderson argued, panic edging into his voice. "The drones are right outside. We need to get moving." "We will," I replied, watching the glowing symbols with growing fascination. "But not until we uncover their weaknesses. This is our chance to learn." Pitt stepped forward, illuminating their meanings with the quickness of revelation sparked by adrenaline. The Proxima's legacy, his voice thrummed with excitement. They spoke of this, a way to harness not just technology, but the very essence of unity against tyrants. I felt the blood drain from my face as realization dawned. "You mean we can use this chamber to empower us against the Overlords?" "Exactly." Pitt beamed, passion igniting. "If we can align ourselves with the power of the Proxima." "Then we tip the scales," I said, feeling urgency swell within me, a fire coaxing my spirit forward. "Then it's our advantage." With new determination, we paced the chamber's rim, aligning our weapons while channeling our focus toward the pulsing glow of the inscriptions. The air hummed with energy, combining our disparate fears and hopes into a collective will strong enough to carve through the shadows lurking beyond the entrance. Together, I declared, heart throbbing in unison with the wall, "We channel this power, use it. Draw forth the essence of the Proxima. Posture yourselves. We create a barrier against the intrusion." As I felt their hands tighten around the weapons beside me, a deep resonance flowed through our bodies. An unseen current melded our minds together, fueled by the potential of that place. Tara's gaze met mine, her determination burning the hopeful spark igniting our connection as we locked our focus on the task ahead. The cave shuddered in reply, its ancient stones echoing the energy flowing through us. The weight of ages seemed to illuminate my heart, the remnants of the Proxima guiding my words. Words of unity slithered forth, spilling from my lips, spiraling toward the crystal-laden walls. "Bring forth strength, bind us together, stave away the looming shadows threatening our freedom. Let this energy breathe life into humanity for the sake of all we hold dear." With every syllable, the glowing runes amplified, casting ripples of light across the ceiling that gradually coalesced into a splendorous, chaotic tapestry. A bridge of connection forged between our hearts and the history echoing through stone. Just then, a thunderous cacophony erupted outside. The drones converged, the whir and buzz crescendoed around us, machines hewing their path toward our sanctuary. "Hold strong," I thundered, the voice brimming with urgency. "We are the Proxima's legacy. We are the torchbearers of rebellion. Together, in unison, we lowered our heads, feeling the vibrations entwining with our resolve." The walls splintered with illumination, the energy converging into a radiant projection at the chamber's center, pulsating in harmony with each member of our collective, fueling a tide we had yet to fully reckon with. The onslaught raged against the chamber, the drones pouring in, scanning, hunting, relentless in pursuit. But we held our ground, carefree in our stance, our resolve pulsing like a heartbeat entwined with the life of Zorev itself. "And now," I shouted as the reality of our impending consequences sharpened against the void. A storm on the precipice. Release the energy. The wave surged outward, cascading over us like a sweeping tide, infusing our beings with an electrifying essence. The birthright of defiance sparking into light. Each pilot of our hopes ignited like a beacon amid the storm, and the air shimmered with anticipation. The very essence of the Proxima resonated in our hearts, bridging our struggles against despair and binding us to each other. The energy reached beyond the walls, spiraling outwards in wild abandon, siphoning through the iron grasp of drone lasers that erupted forth in a blur of metallic chaos. Light clashed against shadow, an ephemeral force strong enough to fracture the illusion of time. Drones veered back, their metallic exteriors buckling under the sheer weight of our unity, the light enveloping us, crashing against the mechanical hunters until they crumpled inward, burning as surrender. A push forward, I yelled, feeling the currents forcing us onward as the stones reverberated with our triumph. We go now. With renewed intensity, we surged through the chamber, emerging victoriously into the open air of the cavern, the glow of our accomplishment surrounding us. The soundscape transformed the chaotic whirring outside, faded to defeated stillness, our kaleidoscopic energy draping over the terrain like a harbinger of hope. We stepped outside, convinced of our decisive victory, only to discover the remnants of disarray. The drones lay crumpled and disassembled. Ahead, the ancient energy pulsated through the surroundings, entwining with the very landscape itself. It was a new beginning taking root, a world transformed by the resurrected power of the Proxima etched into our destinies. Pulses of life surged beneath our feet, and as we ventured forward, the faces of our fellow rebels emerged, an ethereal embrace gathering toward us, buoyed by the illuminating energy echoing our mission. They had come, answers born on a wave of hope, brewed from the very layers of the cavern we stepped from, a reminder that we weren't alone in this war against totalitarianism. A shared purpose thrummed through their hearts, interwoven in the spellbinding performance of life breathed into our futures. "We did it," Tara exclaimed, eyes filled with passionate elation. "We really did it." "Yes," Anderson punctuated, breathless with both adrenaline and wonder. "But we need to remain vigilant. This moment may amplify, but will tempt even greater threats against us." "Undoubtedly," I responded, feeling the momentary ache of triumph housed within the threads of uncertainty. "But we shall not allow our flame to be snuffed out. What we uncovered today ignites something far greater." The landscape danced ahead, shimmering with illuminated potential. An astonishing transformation sparked under our renewed guidance and connection to the Proxima. Enveloped in warmth and knowledge, we bore witness to a gathering force colliding against tyranny like wildfire, fueling the revolution on the rising tide. As we turned together toward the horizon, ready to face the Overlords anew, I felt a simple truth resonate. Hope was ours to reclaim, and with each heartbeat we grew stronger, united in our purpose to reshape destiny's long thought lost to darkness. This was not merely a fight. It was a resurrection of humanity itself. The sky above Zoriv shimmered with a kaleidoscope of colors as twilight descended, illuminating our ragtag assembly of rebels with hues that danced in the fading light. We formed a circle, taking a moment to breathe in the life radiating around us, the echoes of our recent triumph still thrumming in our veins. We were no longer just remnants of a fractured world. We had become the heart of a revolution, the embers of change ignited by the legacy of the Proxima guiding our way. "Gather close," I called, clapping my hands to draw our attention. Sudden silence enveloped our assembly, expectant eyes turning toward me, eager to hear what I had to say after our extraordinary experience with the Oracle. I could feel the weight of our shared resolve pushing us forward, an unbreakable bond forged through adversity. "We've bypassed the drones," I began, my voice steady. "We've harnessed the energy of the Proxima, transcending our fears and finding strength within our unity." A ripple of approval pulsed through the crowd, re-energizing my spirit. "And now, let's discuss our next move." Pitt stepped closer, his eyes reflecting the bioluminescent shard, like crystals around, a stark testament to what had empowered us. "We've established communication with other rebel factions. They're rallying around the cause, but time is limited. We need to strike before the Overlords gather strength." Tara nodded, her brow furrowed. "Agreed. We've caught their attention, but if we don't act swiftly, they might regroup and retaliate with greater force. We caught them off guard, but it won't last." Anderson tightened his grip around his pulse rifle, glancing toward the darkening horizon where we knew the Overlords' stronghold simmered in the shadows. If we can intercept their supply lines and cripple their activity, we can buy ourselves precious time for our allies to mobilize. The gravity of our situation loomed heavy, but amid the anxiety, hope shimmered. Yes, I replied, meeting each determined gaze in turn. We divide our forces. Some will create distractions, draw attention away from our main objectives. Others will infiltrate their command centers. It's a high-risk maneuver, but we have the element of surprise on our side. Amidst my adrenaline-laced words, murmurs of approval cascaded across the circle, and I could see the fire building in their eyes. Here's the plan, I continued, detailing the structure of our mission as I outlined the different teams, what was at stake, but also what we stood to gain. We escape into the tunnels behind the stronghold. Pitt, you'll lead a small team to disrupt their comms, break their connection to the drones. Tara, you'll be in charge of the diversion squad. Create chaos around their supply lines with explosions. Make them believe they're under siege on all fronts. A chorus of nods met my words, and I felt the energy in the air shift. A magnetic charge welcoming our courage. And I'll take Anderson and a few others to infiltrate their command center, I concluded, glancing at my closest allies. It's time we dismantle the systems keeping us enslaved. After moments of preparation, we broke apart, each team gathering their essential gear. From the shadows of our encampment, I caught glimpses of the vast expanse of the Zorev landscape, dotted with makeshift supplies, luminous crystals guiding us toward our resurrection. As our diverse teams moved through the tunnels, the cool earth enveloped us, an ancestral silent witness to our fateful choices. Anderson kept pace beside me, his expression a mix of determination and uncertainty. "Do you think we can truly succeed?" he asked quietly, his voice low against the backdrop of whispers, each word heavy with the weight of possibility. "We've come too far to turn back now," I replied, my heart steady, feeling the legacy of the Proxima surging within me. Today is about seizing the narrative. We resurrect our stories from the ashes of despair. Together, we will rewrite the tale of humanity. The atmosphere grew charged with possibilities, each careful step a reminder that we were enacting change. But there was no longer just dread. Excitement blended with the fear coursing through our veins, creating a potent elixir, one that grounded us and propelled us forward. We soon reached a narrow corridor that led toward our intended target, the heart of the Overlord's command. Before us loomed the entrance, an archway glowing with energy, a threshold we knew was infused with the power of the enemy's control. "Stay sharp," I cautioned as we crouched behind the outcropping, the rhythmic hum of machinery vibrating through the walls. "Anderson, lead the way." Anderson nodded, and we slid into the shadows, moving with practiced stealth. Our mission unfolded in choreographed precision, each moment fluid, as we scuttled along the edges of the chamber, the cool metal brushing against our skin. Inside, the realm was a battleground of machinery and screens displaying shifting data, snapshots of the Overlord's control over Zorev. But as we moved further in, the oppressive atmosphere thickened with unseen menace and energy promising annihilation. Quietly, we navigated the labyrinth of consoles, making our way toward the core. My heart drummed fiercely in my chest, anticipation thrumming beneath my skin. Anderson led us, fingers dancing across buttons until he reached a terminal displaying operation status, a hub for the heart of the Overlord's operation. I motioned for him to pause. I could sense their presence looming overhead. "We'll need to disable this to disrupt their operations fully," I whispered, scanning the shadows that concealed our movements, ensuring we remained unnoticed. "They can't see us or we're done for." Anderson nodded, pulling out his interface device, aligning it to override the lock. I kept watch, straining my ears for the softest sounds, the faintest indication of danger. Each tick of the countdown echoed like drumbeats in my ears, the rhythm unfurling the breath of urgency as we raced against fate. Just like that, the terminal hummed, sending a signal unraveling through the enemy's network. A soft glow erupted from the interface as a whirring noise prompted the alert system to come to life. Almost there, Anderson murmured, sweat beading along his brow. "I just need a few more before he could finish." The lights abruptly flickered, and sirens wailed into the silence, abruptly puncturing the tension wrapped around us. "We've been spotted," I hissed. "We need to go, now." Anderson yanked the wires loose as chaos erupted, howling alarms ripping through the integrity of the fortress. I turned, ushering our group out into the fray, adrenaline fueled as we raced back through the corridors, the weight of our choices crashing down on us, momentum carrying us like waves against the shore. We burst into the open, rejoining the chaos around us, explosions booming across the horizon as Tara unleashed the fury of our diversion squad. The air filled with smoke, obscuring the Overlord's fury as we regrouped amongst our allies, taking a moment to breathe as the world erupted around us. "Did you get it?" Tara shouted, her voice barely piercing through the uproar as she caught sight of us amidst the swirling chaos, eyes reflecting the fiery onslaught of the enemy. A disruption initiated. I hollered back, indicating the fray surrounding us. "They'll be disoriented for a while, but we're not out yet. We need to press the advantage." The energy swirling around us surged, ecstatic realization deepening as we embraced the chaos, our hearts beating in synchrony with the explosions ringing out in wild abandon. We had ignited the spark, perilously close to tipping the tide toward our favor. But we knew this was only the beginning. With renewed vigor, we surged forward amidst the carnage, the strength of our rebellion intensifying with each step. The Overlord's stronghold trembled under the weight of our collective will, and as the dust churned high around us, the shadows whispered encouragement. An unyielding anthem resonating strong within the very fabric of who we had become. "Push forward," I shouted, eyes locked on the heart of the Citadel, a conquerable fortress built on the backs of bleeding dreams and enslaved souls. The path would not be easy, but together we could breach the gates and seize our destiny. As we charged into the fray, our hopes and fears converging into that splendid collision of light and darkness, I felt a profound truth echo within me. The bond we shared, unbreakable. We were the architects of our fate. Today, we reclaimed our narrative, rise or fall, for it was the fight that defined us. We charged ahead, heartbeats synced with the pulse of resistance, a force unable to be quelled. An unstoppable wave rippling through the vast expanse of the universe, heralding our fervent return to glory. The sky above us darkened as we pressed on through the war zone, the scent of burnt metal and smoke hanging heavily around us. Yet in the midst of chaos, we felt alive, purpose igniting every cell in our bodies. Tara led the charge, a fierce warrior riding the edge of bravery, her pulse rifle crackling with energy as she became the embodiment of our rebellion. Each explosion echoed our defiance, the Proxima's legacy pulsating within our very essence. A riotous symphony of newfound power and hope against the Overlords who had long deemed us insignificant. With each step, we shaped our fates anew. A left flank. I yelled into the cacophony, signaling Anderson and the others to regroup as we surged past the fragmented remains of the Overlord's forces, each strike solidifying our claim against oppression. We twisted through alleyways choked with debris, dust swirling as if to swallow us up, yet the adrenaline surged in my veins, propelling me onward. The dark fortress loomed overhead, its metallic exterior a stark reminder of tyranny, but we had become embers of rebellion, fueled by the spirit of the Proxima. Up ahead, Tara shouted, and we followed her outstretched hand toward a crumbling tower scattered with drones still trying to re-establish control. My heart tightened, but I felt emboldened by the rallying energy that surged around us. With a resounding boom, I unleashed a thermal pulse toward the flanks of the tower, sending shockwaves through their formations. The beautiful chaos erupted, freeing our allies to push forward into the expansion of light that beckoned. "Press on!" I shouted, feeling the energy behind my call gather around us, invigorating the very air as we collided with the defenses of the Overlords. We surged and swayed like the agile current, each movement melding into the next. All of us caught up in the fervor of defiance, soldiers in the war for our existence. Push deeper, Tara barked, her voice ringing through the tumult, igniting further furies within us. We were galvanizing, bold despite the forces gathering against us. A sudden thrumming sound shattered the chaos, a low, persistent drone emerging above us, its shadows darkening what little light remained. I looked up and gasped. "Tara, look out." She spun, eyes wide, moments before a barrage of energy blasts erupted toward us. Time slowed, and I surged forward instinctually, feeling the force of the air swirl against me as I caught her arm, yanking her back just enough to dodge the encroaching danger. The noise cascaded in a crescendo behind us, and suddenly, explosions erupted within the ranks. The rebels joining forces with newfound energy, illuminating the darkened skies. The tide had turned the moment we had fought for was here, and we would not heed the call of retreat. "A rally behind me," I roared, my voice meeting the chaos head on as we prepared to pierce through the dark. "We will seize this moment." With renewed strength, we thundered toward the critical point of impact, the inner sanctum of the Overlords, ready to dismantle their existence. Our momentum overshadowed even the loudest explosions, wrapping around us in a shroud, a force echoing through the very fibers of the universe. Together, we stormed the final barrier, indomitable spirits blazing in the twilight, knowing undoubtedly that we were more than mere insurgents. We were the resurrected embodiment of humanity, fierce and relentless in our fight for existence against an oppressive force. And as we charged forward, armed with sheer defiance, resolute intent surged with every ounce of our souls. Today, we reclaim our narrative, shifting the very foundations upon which oppression had triumphed for far too long. Just beyond the threshold, the command center unfolded, a pulsating core of activity, machines blipping to life, dozens of screens flooding with signals that buzzed red. The room pulsated with an electric hum, each light a heartbeat of an empire, but directed under our piercing resolve. "Disrupt everything," I shouted, urging the team forward, rallying the troops flanking my sides. We began, wreaking havoc on the machinery. Anderson and Pitt targeting the mainframe, while others focused on dismantling peripheral controls. Signal reinforcements, Pitt called as he stripped wires, hurling them toward a console bursting with energy. "We need to sever their connections to the outside." The air thickened with tension as he worked, desperately managing to override core systems while drones buzzed menacingly overhead. Tara, now fierce within her own element, turned toward the growing flock of enemies pressing in. "Get ready, I'll cover you," she shouted, raising her pulse rifle and fixing her gaze on the flock of drones cresting against the walls. I could feel the urgency in my bones as the first shot rang out, a shield of protection veiling us as Tara's shots rang loud, exploding against the drone swarm. Chaos erupted as the command center, flooded with energy, transitioned to the cacophony of our insurgency, rallying against generations of despair. "This is it," I pressed, leaning closer to the core interface. "We dismantle their hold. We reclaim what has been stolen." Anderson pushed alongside me, fingers flying over keyboards, calling out vital systems to disable and redirect. We were operating on instinct now, forging a new reality as the Overlords would not soon forget. With every keystroke, we siphoned their power and replaced it with our desires. Through the smoke-filled haze, our mission materialized the sounds of destruction morphing into a symphony of rebellion, emboldening us to unite against the encroaching darkness. We were no longer just fighting to survive. Rather, we fought fiercely to reclaim our spirit. The rhythm of our hearts matched the roar of explosions echoing through the fortress, a connection to the legacy we embodied. We were not alone in this. Countless souls sought justice, and today we illuminated the path forward. And now, I screamed as I felt a surge building around us, a culmination of our rage and hope. We turned a dial, the energy sparking anew, erupting in an explosive pulse resonating outward from the core, consuming the stronghold in a flash of blinding light. In that moment of brilliant intensity, we had pressed our hands into the molten fabric of destiny, twisting it anew. Together, We broke free from the shackles that had bound humanity's narrative in darkness. As the center imploded, spaces shifting profoundly, I knew, truly knew, we had transformed the universe by confronting sorrow with defiance. Through the eruptions of light and darkness, we had rewritten our fate. And as we raced toward the exits, the command center crumbling around us, I felt a pulse of hope igniting beneath the layers of rubble. A reminder that what we had forged together would not be divine resurrection alone, but a renaissance of our humanity reborn from ashes. The darkness of Zorov began fading away into the horizon as dawn kissed the landscape. Soon we would emerge victorious, our paths etched boldly in memory. The Overlords' reign had been fractured, their grip loosened, but it was only the first step in the intricate dance toward freedom. As we reached the horizon, casting glances at the expanse before us, twilight slowly breaking the hold of night, I turned to my comrades, my fellow warriors. They wore expressions that mirrored my own. Determination, purpose, no longer just shadows hiding from tyranny, but vibrant spirits ready to reshape their world. Today, we reclaim what was lost, I shouted, lifting my weapon high above my head, heart racing as I felt the weight of our battle settling into my bones. Today, we become the authors of our fate. We are the descendants of the Proxima. The chorus of cheers erupted, resonating across the ethereal landscape as we knew beyond a shadow of a doubt that although one battle was over, this was only beginning. The fire of rebellion would blaze fiercely as we tread the path toward freedom, forever ignited by the memories etched into our spirits. As sunlight spilled over the horizon, illuminating the pale sands of Zorov, we turned together toward the expanse of life before us, ready to confront whatever universe threw at us, bound by the unbreakable tapestry of unity and purpose. We had risen, and nothing would extinguish our flames again. Today marked our resurgence, a promise reclaimed, a story retold, a legacy of hope emblazoned across the cosmos. The sun hung low over the horizon of Zorov, a deep crimson spilling across the sky as we gathered at the edge of the Overlords' destroyed command center. The air pulsed with the remnants of our explosive victory, a thick haze of smoke swirling around our feet, wrapping us in the promise of hope and the specter of impending challenges. Our breaths came heavy, the adrenaline mixed with exhaustion, binding us together in a silence reverberating with triumph and uncertainty. I turned to my comrades, the fierce squad we had forged amidst the fires of rebellion. Tara's eyes sparkled with exhilaration, an unshakable grin on her face, while Anderson gripped his pulse rifle, the tension still radiating from his posture. Pitt stood amidst the remnants of the machinery, his fingers still sparking with energy from the console, awe flooding his expression. The remnants of the Imperium's stronghold crumbled around us, testament to our defiance. "We did it," I shouted, my voice breaking the stillness. A chorus of cheers erupted from those who had fought alongside me, echoing into the expanse that lay before us. And not just for ourselves, but for everyone the Overlords oppressed. The words felt incandescent, igniting within us the fierce conviction we had amassed through blood, sweat, and sacrifice. A collective longing for freedom that burned brighter than the crimson sky. As the ashes of the command station settled, I stepped forward, a palpable energy surrounding me. Now we need to solidify our victory. We must send word to the other resistance factions. If we show them that we can fend off the Overlords, we'll unify the people scattered across this galaxy. The shimmer of revolutionary fervor rippled through our gathering, coaxing nods and murmurs of agreement. Pitt pulled out his interface device, fumbling with the settings as the light flickered on. "I can establish a secure channel," he said, excitement clamoring within him. "But I'll need to connect it to one of the remaining drones before we lose the signal." "Let's do it," Tara commanded, a fierce gleam in her eye. "If we can communicate with the factions, we can string together a rebellion that the Overlords can't ignore." Before we could discuss further, a tremor shuddered through the ground, heavy footsteps echoing underfoot like the ominous drumbeat of destiny. Anxiety gripped us, hearts racing as the shadows of the past began inching toward us again. A low hum rose from the horizon, sharp like a blade, a wolf pack regrouping to track its prey. "Prepare yourselves," I called out, feeling the weight of responsibility shift as our collective eyes focused on the incoming threat. They won't let us rest. We've made our move, and they'll retaliate. But we stand together. I raised my rifle, solid and sure. As we gathered under a makeshift barricade, a surge of urgency rippled through the air. The shadows shifted on the outskirts of the former command center, a mass of armored figures moving with purpose, lit by the fading sun, painting a sinister portrait against the vibrant palette of hope. Anderson squinted, leaning forward as he trained his rifle toward the incoming horde. "It's them. The Overlords are regrouping." The clarity in his voice pushed us into action. The euphoric victory was suddenly eclipsed by the razor-sharp reality of our situation. I felt every inch of my resolve surge forth, solidifying my determination to remain unyielding. "We will fend them off," I said, lifting my hand as the urgency drowned the chaos around us. "It will make our stand here. We've taken so much from them, and now they'll know how fierce we truly are." The sounds of the Overlords grew louder, mechanized soldiers marching with cold purpose, the final shards of our tenuous victory threatening to slip away. But we would face them with defiance forged in the fire of our shared struggle. With a visceral roar, Tara yelled, "On my mark. We'll flank left." The commands ignited our adrenaline as we fell into our formation, the wave of rebellion rising within us once more. The looming shadow of the Overlords was a momentary veiling of what was to come, but their presence lit a fire in our souls. "Hold your fire," I called out, sensing the approach of the enemy. As the mechanical soldiers drew nearer, we exchanged glances committed to our mission, ready to uphold the spirit of the Proxima that thrummed within us. Our bond transcended fear, a web of resilience anchoring us in our fight. 3-2. Tara's voice threaded through the tension. And now, the first shots fired under the darkening sky punctured the heavy air, explosions erupting into the falling dusk in a primal dance of light and sound. I fought sickness that pooled in my stomach, a reminder that vengeance danced hand in hand with sorrow. Life lay before us in vibrant hues. Our lives had just begun anew, yet the fight threatened to consume us. As barrage after barrage of energy detonated among the ranks of the robotic Overlords, I pressed forward, adrenaline surging within my veins. The cries of my comrades blended into the cacophony, each voice formed from hope and purpose. "Push through," I screamed. "Don't relent." Behind us, Pitt fumbled with his device as gunfire rang out, but he fought to maintain focus, his determination reflected in the shimmering screens around him. "In just another moment," he shouted amidst the peals of confrontation. "We can connect to the rebel networks." With every blast, I could see the Overlords pushing forward. This time they were watching, calculating. I could almost feel the pressure build, reminding me that nothing was certain, not the unity we fought to build, nor the victory we sought to claim. "Together," I urged again, emboldening those around me as we fired bursts toward the encroaching threat. Desperate to keep the tide of Overlords at bay while accepting the reality of loss. Fates intertwining in this violent dance, our lives tangled together in threads of defiance against the all-consuming shadow of tyranny. A crimson trail mark followed each ricochet, echoing shots cascading through the twilight, fear, fury, and purpose permeating the air. It felt as if an eternity stretched on, living in that instance where the future became unspooled before us, its strands twinkling with fragmented possibilities as we grappled to shape our own destinies. Suddenly, the towering figure of an Overlord commander emerged within the fray, armored, fearsome, a lethal reminder of oppression incarnate. Insubordination. He bellowed, voice like thunder, sending chills through the ranks of the remaining Overlords. "You think to challenge a superior force?" Fury erupted within me. I felt the fires of our collective struggles lift me off the ground. "We no longer bow to tyrants," I shouted back, defiance blazing through my soul, each heartbeat strengthening our resolve as we gripped our rifles tight. "Your rule ends today. And in that boiling moment, the line was drawn, the weight of oppression faced against the force of our united struggle. We were the tide rising against a storm, unwilling to succumb to the depths of despair. Anderson rallied beside me, pulse rifle's energy glowing as he squeezed the trigger. We take back what's ours, for Zorev. The battle cry reverberated through the ranks, our collective voices rising as we surged toward the awaiting storm. A rally together, Tara shouted, charging forward, riding high on the wave of adrenaline. We are the phoenix rising from the ashes. The battle raged on around us, a fray crafted from the embers of sorrow mingled with fervent hope. Explosions echoed, lighting up the dusk, shadows flickering through the remnants of the Overlords' machinations. And in that moment of chaos, I knew painfully well what lay ahead. The time for solidarity had come. Together, we surged forward, hearts thrumming in synchronization. A tapestry of shared fates woven from sacrifice, grit, and resilience. With each step, we stormed toward the very heart of our oppression, vowing to rise above whatever lay ahead in a symphony of chance and choice, forging our legacy into the collective tapestry of the universe. But still, the darkness loomed. In the heat of battle, as we pressed forward through waves of relentless enemies, I could not shake the sense that even in our victory, shadows lingered, an undercurrent that followed us, whispering reminders of the stakes at hand. The war was far from over, but we stood like bastions unyielding against the tide. Now, I called out, leading the charge straight toward the heart of their ranks. This is our moment. And together, we barreled into the fray, light and darkness crashing against each other. A fusion of rebellion forged in the fires of our shared dreams, our once quiet voices rising to form the thunderous roar of unfettered humanity reclaiming its story. We would become the architects of our fate, and today would be the day we molded a future worth fighting for within that storm of cosmic chaos. The sun had sunk below the jagged horizon, darkness swallowing the land like a vast cosmic maw, while the battle raged around us, the vibrations of destruction etched into the very fabric of Zorev. Waves of Overlord soldiers surged forward like a storm of shadows, their determination fueled by the desire to crush the rebellion before it could truly take root. But we would not be cowed by the thrumming beat of war drums. We were forged in the fires of defiance, united by the unshakable bond of shared purpose, facing one another as guardians of our nascent freedom. All around us, the tumult of our surroundings was laced with the crackle of energy bursts meeting steel, the air thick with the echoes of relentless combat. Tara stood firm beside me, pulse rifle steady at her side, a fierce gleam in her eyes that mingled with the fire of courageous spirits. Anderson, shoulders acrid with tension, remained poised, ready to defend our fragile existence. In the distance, I glimpsed the towering structure of the Overlord's mother ship looming like a colossus, its armored hull casting an ominous shadow over the battlefield. This was the heart of their reign, and it would not stand for long. And now, I bellowed, the fervor of battle surging through me as the adrenaline whipped my senses into a storm. We push forward, we take the fight to them. The call reverberated through our ranks, igniting their resolve as we advanced, the surging tide of humanity colliding against an oppressive regime. Each step was a declaration, each gunshot a ripple in the fabric of destiny, unraveling the core of tyranny with each pull of the trigger. With my heart drumming in an unrelenting rhythm, I took the lead, cutting through waves of gunfire and scheming shadows. Explosions echoed with the fervor of rebirth, the remnants of the Overlord's machinery scattering before us like ash. To the ship, I urged, shoving through the melee, desperate to reach the command center of the Overlords, the vantage point we had targeted as our critical goal. We fought not only for ourselves, but for everyone they had tormented, the voices of the past weaving through my conscience. Covering fire, Tara shouted, squeezing the trigger with a sharp precision as I surged forward, weaving through debris and enemy fire as energy blasts warbled among us. Watch out for that patrol. She pointed at a cluster of mechanized beasts sweeping our direction, jaws agape. Aim for their weak points, go for the eyes. Anderson followed suit, rifles raised as we maneuvered around twisted metal and shattered remnants, edging toward the entrance of the ship as the battlefield erupted around us. We were a peripheral storm, flickering with intent, for in this moment danger transformed into opportunity, our shared spirit resonating through the madness that surrounded us. Suddenly, a deafening crack of sound erupted near the entrance, a shimmer of light bursting through the air as an explosion collapsed a section of the overhead. The violent force sent me sprawling. I hit the ground hard, tasting the metallic twang of blood in my mouth and the grit of Zoriv's terrain mingling with my thoughts. Darkness fluttered at the edges of my vision, but I fought to focus my eyes as I scanned for my allies. "Where are you?" I struggled to call out, body taut against the fear that threatened to squeeze the very breath from my lungs. Panic surged like electric current at the thought of losing them amidst the chaos. But as the dust settled, I heard the voices I knew so well. Tara and Anderson battling desperately to hold off the advancing forces. "I'm here," Tara shouted, her voice a beacon amid clattering chaos. Anderson reload. "Now, we can't let them breach our lines." I pushed myself upright, emotions colliding as I saw them firing valiantly against the encroaching darkness. In that moment, the purpose surged anew. We were born to this struggle, standing at the precipice of our fated transformation, a simultaneous eruption of humanity that roared against oblivion. Together, I screamed, racing toward them, desperation igniting my steps. My pulse rifle rose to meet my intention, each shot fueled by the desire to reclaim what had been stolen from us as they fought to hold the perimeter. We stayed together. The world around us trembled, and I joined the chorus, the energy pouring into an inferno of defiance within the depths of our souls. Amidst the frantic exchange of fire, we pushed forward again, fortified now by the knowledge that our individual struggles combined into one potent force, a wave that would finally dislodge the Overlords from our lives. I could almost taste victory on my lips as we crested the final hill, approaching the entryway of the mothership, our thresholds to transcending oppression standing tall before us. With a relentless determination, we charged into the fray, the pulsating heart of the ship vibing beneath our feet, a reminder of its ominous power, the embodiment of tyranny now faltering under our resolute advance. Those fighting alongside us roared, the sounds merging as a vital chorus that cut through the cacophony of our battle. "To push forward, we take this ship back for ourselves," I shouted, gazing into the expanse of steel and machinery, emboldened by the crystalline markings reflecting the courage of the Proxima buried within our hearts. And then, just as we breached the entrance, chaos reigned. The ship roared to life, alarms blaring as automated defenses descended upon us. Drones whirred and twisted, darting through the dimly lit corridors, ready to crush any insurgent daring enough to tamper with their precious command. "Oh shit!" Tara dodged left as shots rang out overhead. "We have to split. Anderson, you and I will flank right, create a distraction. Your job is to find the mainframe and disable their systems before they regroup." "Got it," Anderson called, mirroring my adrenaline-fueled determination. I turned to lead the charge, adrenaline igniting the muscles in my legs as I dashed toward the interior of unforgiving metal. As we navigated through the dim, lit expanse, I could feel the ancient energy resonate throughout the structure, entwined with the pulse of our revolution, a reminder that we had arrived at the tipping point in this epic struggle. The air thickened with electric urgency as we pressed onward, eyes darting for any sign of reinforcement that would lead to our moment of triumph. Ahead of us lay the command center, nestled in the belly of the ship, a treasure trove that seemed to hum with both anticipation and fear. I reached for my communicator. "Pitt, what's your status?" "I'm still securing the connection to the rebel network," he replied breathlessly over the static. "We're extending the failsafe now, but you have to hold your ground. We can't let them sever the signal. Hold out," I replied, knowing that the weight of our collective hope rested heavily on our shoulders. "We're almost there. You'll have your link in no time, Pitt. Stay strong. If fists clenched tight against the hard metal of my rifle, I surged toward the command center, the beacon of defiance shining brighter as the kinetic energy swirled within us. Aurora, like light, pulsated in delirium among the machinery as the automated drones descended, steady as eagles, their mechanical bodies glaring with malice. "Watch out!" Tara shouted as we ducked behind a wall, energy hum resonating harshly against our ears. We exchanged glances, our resolve grew fierce, hearts beating in sync with the outer chaos. Tasked with freeing the universe from the abominable chains of oppression, we took a collective breath, and with conviction driving our force, we charged into the fray of battle, ready to reclaim what was ours. With precision and unwavering determination, we fought our way toward the center of their command. The Overlords snarled from behind their armored walls, the remnants of our enemy that we would soon dismantle. To the main console, I called out, rallying my courage and the light we had cultivated. Restore balance. Anderson flanked me as we broke into the bay of the command center, a chamber alive with pulsating screens and brimming with the buzzing of machinery. My heart raced as the thought of liberation flooded our minds. We would break their oppressive connection. We would free those who still remained shackled under their wrath. In the heart of the room, the daunting central console loomed, a monument of oppression forged in steel and circuit boards. The air hummed around us, beckoning us closer as the warnings illuminated on the panels. Blinking error codes flashed before our eyes, the sentiment that we had found the very breath of our resistance. Now, Tara shouted, firing toward an approaching squadron of Overlords, our barricade shifting, a pulsating shield that blurred but did not break. I seized the moment, lunging toward the console as Anderson kept a vigilant watch. "Pitt, I have an access point," I shouted, fingers dancing across the disheveled control panel as I input code from memory, remnants of what I'd gleaned during the long, oppressive nights of servitude. "Can you get the systems offline?" "Just a moment," Pitt responded, energy flickering as the distance between us narrowed. "Hold the line, I'm almost through." Explosions mingled with frantic gunfire as Tara's shots rang out, adrenaline riding high, yet I focused, intertwining with the intricate network of code, the very fabric of our rebellion coursing beneath my fingers. "Disable the security protocols. We'll breach their defenses." The screens flashed as I felt the weight of 1,000 hopes electrifying the silence amidst the chaos. And then, in the crescendo of urgency, I felt it. The shift of power. The core alignment fell into place, and with a loud, resounding crash, the system sparked to life. "It's working," I cried out, a wave of triumph flooding my spirit. "We're taking control." But just then, enemy reinforcements streamed in, their combined force crashing upon us, snarling bloodthirsty. The air turned to fire as they burst through the door, and dread washed over me, piercing the moment of victory with the haunting reminder of loss. "Keep fighting," Tara roared, raising her rifle in fierce defiance as we pushed toward the heart of the storm, refusing to relent from the path we had chosen despite the merciless tide surging closer. I felt a tremor within me as we met their force head on. There was no turning back. With darkened skies above and the roiling chaos raging around, I fought with every ounce of strength I possessed, fighting off the shadows threatening to overtake us as I channeled the essence of the Proxima, reaching deep within for their wisdom. "A strike true," Tara yelled, our voices melding into that glorious surge of unity. "We are unstoppable." The ensuing battle was a chaotic symphony, our voices ringed with courage as we struggled against the tide of vicious opponents threatening to rupture our hard, one world. Together, we embodied the anger of countless innocents crushed underfoot, a chorus of humanity rising to reclaim their voice from the abyss. And then, the moment we fought for unfolded. Under the weight of our struggle, the power of the ship teetered, threatening to break free now that we had seized control. "Pitt, now. Send the signal," I yelled, gripping the console tight as the chaos swirled in a maelstrom outside the command center. "We'll end this," doing it," he replied, fingers flying across the screen, breath racing against time. There was an electric charge in the air, powered by the realization that we could claim our freedom, and that together we could eliminate the crumbling grip of the Overlords. In that moment, light enveloped the command center. We surged forward like an explosion, reclaiming the promise of our victory against insurmountable odds as we breached through the veil of darkness. Now, I bellowed, the air crackling with magic. A fight for freedom, and just as we set the command center ablaze with energy, the reinforced walls trembling under the weight of our spirit, the tide shifted. Drones exploded overhead, light bursting through the shadows of oppression that had sought to swallow us whole. The Overlords faltered. My heart exploded in the swelling moment of clarity. I gripped the nearest pulse rifle higher, rallying every ounce of courage coursing through my blood. Charge, I shouted, as the sounds of defiance echoed across our fraught battleground. And with that, we surged into the fray, quickening our pace, determined to dismantle the overbearing chains of tyranny and reclaim the freedom that was rightfully ours. Each blade of hope intertwined with the defiance that surged through our ranks. We pressed into the storm, ready to face whatever awaited us with unyielding hearts. The command center shook beneath us as we plunged ahead, revolutionaries and rebels storming past, the imprisoned voices of the Proxima stirring as we merged into unity with one final breath, a tumultuous roar spiraling across Zoriv in a blaze of triumphant glory. And though every step felt like it pushed against the cosmos, every pulse resonated with humanity alive together, we would reshape our fates. Together, we'd rise anew. The aftermath of our thunderous clash echoed through the air. A world unraveling against the rubble and debris we had chased after the light. The grasp of the Overlords, once so fierce and unyielding, now lay shattered before us, a stronghold brought low through the resonance of a shared identity forged in defiance. The dusk receded, and beyond the tumult of destruction, the dawn began to fracture through the landscape. Terra, breathless and wild, died, emerged from the remnants, her pulse rifle raised but guarded as the last remnants of Overlord soldiers fell away, surrendering under the weight of our rebellion. We had disrupted the very core of their power. Whispers of freedom surged from our lungs, curling into the fading echoes of annihilation enveloping around us. Can we keep going? Tara breathed, gripping my arm with a spark of exhilaration. Yes, we will reclaim every inch of our world, I said, steadier than I had felt in a long time. The strongest solidarity is born from shared struggles, and together we will not falter. A cheer lifted around us, valiant souls rising from the ashes, threading together through luminous light. A kaleidoscope of life rekindled beneath morning's embrace. We stepped forward together, moving amidst the remnants of the Overlord's power, the silhouettes of the erstwhile empire flickering like shadows upon the dawn. We've carved our paths into the fabric of existence. Anderson shouted, incredulity overtaking him as he waved frantically to the emerging rebel factions, pouring forth from the decrepit corners of the ship. Underneath the glorious sunlight it was clear. A promise reborn found life in unity, a symphony of names no longer forgotten but venerated amongst the stars. The faces of comrades long too quiet surged into view, each adorned with the recognition of freedom reclaimed. Suddenly, the air filled with the sound of shouts. The distant echo of our allies resounded anew, their voices wrapping around us like a prayer of resistance rising from the depths. I turned to Pitt, who closed the distance, breathing heavily from his efforts. What's the status? I asked, the urgency still humming in my veins. I managed to connect with the rebel networks before the Overlords fell. Pitt replied, excitement radiating in his voice, which reverberated the light of hope amidst the lingering shadows. They're rallying for the final push. We have the momentum now. I knew we could do it. Tara glowed, her jubilant expression illuminating the tenuous threads of life surrounding us. But this fight is far from over. We've breached their defenses, but we must seize this opportunity. Every day we've survived has been a testament to the strength born from solidarity. Yes, I agreed, eyes shining with fervor, each of us aware of the weight that lingered in the stillness. And now is the time for unity. Let the world beyond hear us. Let them know we've reclaimed our narrative. Our spirit cannot be quelled. Through the cacophony surrounding us, a pulse of energy surged. A collective acknowledgement resonated among our ranks as we prepared to march forward arm in arm. Together, tension turned toward resolve as we tread together, spirits soaring, the vestiges of oppression losing their hold as we reclaimed our autonomy in a triumphant flight of resilience. The battle for liberation would reach far beyond the narrow confines of our fate. Now began a transformation that we had long yearned for, an awakening echoing throughout the cosmic landscape. There, Pitt shouted, gesturing toward the expanding assembly of rebels beyond the charred remnants of the Overlords' machinery. And we surged forward together, confronting the horizon where dreams fused with bitter reality, the space where we dared to outline our own futures, where our hopes intertwined with the stories of lives once forged in darkness but now birthed into radiant light. As we reached the forefront of our collective force, powerful and bright, I could feel the energy swelling around us, a unity that vibrated through our very beings, weaving together the tales of the Proxima. The universe has borne witness to our revolution, I declared, addressing our gathered faction, and each word reverberated with purpose, echoing the truth of our fight. Let this day mark the dawn of new beginnings, a redefining of our fate in the hearts of all who dare rise against tyranny. We leave labels behind like shadows, stepping boldly forward into the future. The cheers rose up to meet the heavens, swelling under the deepening dawn, a symphony crafted from choice and courage, each note rising above the chaos of oppression and despair. A new pathway revealed itself, the legacy we would build glowing as brightly as the stars pulsing above us, their medial threads intertwined in a warm embrace around our shared history. And there, under the radiant sky, a flickering promise ignited within us, the spirit of the Proxima alive, woven through our souls, echoing the songs of those who had come before us. Together, as agents of change, we would leave behind an indelible truth, carving our story anew amidst the stars. A story that could never be silenced, for our voices would forever resonate against the tempestuous waves of the universe. United as one, we stepped beyond the remnants of the Overlords, embracing the uncharted expanse that lay ahead, bold enough to chase our destinies among the stars, weaving the canopy of a universe that belonged to us, an eternal tapestry of hope and courage, the dawn of a legacy reborn.